Emma, Nurturing by Nature, and I am going live today from our dispatch centre in Upton, and today's topic is bones. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so we're going to crack on. Then I've got some bones and things to show you and various things. We've had some questions in this week to say, what bones can I feed? Are bones safe for my dogs? And basically that's what we're going to go over. And I've got some tips at the end for you. And I'll show you some of the products whilst I talk about them. And just to let you know, we had a winner from last week who won the goodies that we talked about in last week's video, and that was Lisa Jordan. She has been contacted, so thankfully everyone got involved in that, so I really appreciate that. And if you like our videos, please think about subscribing to our channel on our Instagram page or on Facebook or on YouTube, and then you can pick up some more interesting information about feeding a raw diet and how it works for you and for us and how we do things as well. So we share things every Friday. Okay, so this is about bones, this video here. A lot of people want to know whether or not it's safe to feed bones to dogs, and absolutely it is. So you need to make sure that every bone that you choose is a raw bone. Our dogs are completely and utterly able to deal with bones in their system. They can digest them, they can chew them. They've just got to be the right size for the dog and appropriate for them, and also for you, because there's no point in feeding them a bone if you are going to get upset about it or if you don't feel that it suits your lifestyle. So that has to be considered when you do feed your dog a raw diet and also choose to feed bones. But bones are massively beneficial. There are so many good things about dogs having bones that they're, I've got a massive list, but let's get into it, shall we? So, safety concerns around bones. Are bones safe for dogs to eat? So the short answer is yes, they absolutely are, as long as they're not cooked. When you start cooking a bone, it changes it and it gets a lot more brittle and a lot harder for your dog to digest, and then it could cause problems. So you need to choose an appropriate size bone for the pet that you're going to feed, and you should never leave them alone with their bones as well. So some people have said to me in the past, I would like a nice bone for when I'm going out, I can leave the dog with a bone, but we would probably say, let's not do that. Find something else that your dog can play with, like a toy, that you can feel safe to leave them with, because you don't want anything happening when you're not there that you can't control and you can't look after your pet. So don't feed bones unsupervised. Although dogs can deal with them, if anything were to happen, you'll be on hand. So supervision, really important. So don't leave your dog alone with a bone or even anything that they may accidentally choke on. We've had dogs in the past, not ours, but we've had people that took some risks, left their dogs alone with a bone, and that dog did end up in surgery. And when I used to work in vet practice, it had eaten a part of the bone, like a little hard kneecap that got lodged somewhere and it had to be removed. So it doesn't happen very often, but it can happen. So you just need to be aware. So supervision, really important. When I was working in vet practice, there was one dog who, although had no problem eating bones, had to be opened up to get a toy car removed. Alongside the toy car, there was a pair of socks rolled up, neatly in a ball, and the lid from a medicine bottle. So dogs will eat things potentially, especially puppies, and they can chew on it and they enjoy it. So yes, bones are safe for your dogs to eat. They just need to be raw and not cooked. What type of bones can cause choking in dogs? So a bone that is too small for your dog, they could swallow it really easily and then it gets stuck. So you don't want that to happen. So choose bones that don't fit down, okay? Dogs will naturally swallow down food that if it fits, and if it's too big, then they'll regurgitate it up and chew it again. That's a natural way that dogs deal with their food. If you know that your dog is sensible, then you need to judge it for your own circumstances. But if in doubt, you feed a larger bone that you know your dog can't swallow. So good gauge of this is to use the size of your dog's head, and is the bone as bigger or the same size as your dog's head. If that is the case, then you should be safe to feed that bone because they can't swallow it. It won't fit down in one go. Dogs will gulp their food if they possibly can, unless they're feeling very safe in a very safe environment. So just bear that in mind. And also, yeah, that was the other thing is, so naturally, like a wild dog would go and they would bring some food back up for the puppies. So they will eat things and regurgitate them naturally. But cooked bones, that's what I was talking about earlier, a really bad idea because they can't digest them at all. All cooked bones this applies to. So even this came into us by accident because we don't actually sell these, but these are dried chicken necks, and they are dried and they've been heat treated in some way. So we choose not to feed these sort of things, and we don't sell them either. This happened to have been delivered by accident this week. So you can think things like the dried chicken necks, the feet, the chicken and the duck feet. Some dogs absolutely love them, and they've been fine on them for years, and you've fed them and it's not a problem. That suits you, that's absolutely fine. But they have been processed and cooked in some way, so that's why we tend to avoid them. Sometimes you even get a venison leg, which is a weight-bearing bone. Weight-bearing bone for the dog, and that's a really hard bone, so you don't want your dog to be eating that when it's been cooked. So yeah, try and avoid any bones that are cooked, but keep the treats. So Kaylee wants to know, how long does the weekend 23 code work for? It will work all weekend now. We will be turning that off on Monday, sort of midnight, in Sunday night, Monday, so you can use that over the weekend as well. So weekend 23 will give you free delivery on the orders that you place online. So if your order is under £50, put in weekend 23 if you're further away from us, and it will take the delivery charge off. If your order's over £50, then it doesn't matter because the delivery is free anyway. But it's just so those people that want to try some of our food get to try it but don't have to pay delivery. Okay, thank you, Kaylee. So the next question I've got here, so I was planning on having Bruce with me, but Bruce has disappeared. I think he's probably in the other office, and he's a stuffed dog. And I'm going to show you one of the bigger bones that we've got here, which is a recreational bone. Well, you can use this one here. It's absolutely very unlikely that your dog is going to be able to swallow this in one go. So whatever size of your dog, if you've got a tiny chihuahua, they could have this. They'd have great fun trying to drag that around, wouldn't they? That's one of the marrowbones, a pair of marrowbones. That's the extra large ones, and they're massive, aren't they? They're huge, like big dino bones. So one of those, your dog's not going to be able to eat that in one go. So you're safe with something like that, even though it is a weight-bearing bone. But I will come across to that in a minute, just so you know about weight-bearing bones and what I mean by that. So the smaller bones, the bigger dog, that's what could get stuck. So avoid them. Feed the right sized bone for your dog. So if you've got a big dog, feed a bigger bone. Look at the size of their head. Can they swallow it in one go? Smaller dogs, same principle applies. Size of their head. Can they swallow it in one go? Smaller bones like these riblets should always be fed in the pack like they are. You could cut that into two, but you want the dog to be chewing the bones in a rack like this. Look at this meat on here, how meaty those bones are. And that's something you should be looking out for when you're buying bones for your dogs. Are they meaty? So if the rib bones come like this one here, and the butchers or the processors have cut out all the pink stuff, which is the intercostal, the muscle, the meat in between the rib bones, you're not getting a meaty bone. You want to make sure that your bones are lovely and meaty. And look at these, they've got lots of fat on, which is good. Fat is a good source of energy for your dog. And this here is meat, and in the pink stuff in between the white bits, that's the bone. The pink stuff, that's the this here, the flexible bit here. That red bit, that is the bone. You've got white bone, the dark, denser bone, and this piece in the middle here, that's the flexible intercostal meat. So that's good for the dog, and they will enjoy ripping and tearing that. So That's what their teeth are designed for, eating something like that. So if you find a bone for your dog in your pet shop and they've been cut so that they just look like spikes of bone and all this is gone, then that's not the best type of bone, because the meat is gone. You want meaty bones. And those are two versions of lamb ribs. So a smaller breed dog, something like this, you could even cut it in half for a Chihuahua. Your bigger breeds, your Labradors, something like this, you could go even bigger. If you've got a larger Mastiff type, you do get bigger racks of ribs as well. Okay, so what is the difference between raw and cooked bones? So basically, raw bones are any that have not been heat treated in any way. So I said earlier, this has been heat treated. These are one of the dried chicken necks, so we'd avoid that. But you want the fresh, raw, or fresh or frozen raw chicken necks, like these guys here. These are quite dinky. They've got those in there. We also do them in a kilo bag. These are the chicken necks. Yeah, about 16 chicken necks in one of those packs, or you've got the smaller packs for smaller dogs and people with less freezer space. But that's a nice meaty chicken neck bone, and that has not been cooked. That is a chicken bone which has been dried, either dehydrated or put in a low oven, so it has been heat processed. So choose bones that have not been heat treated, and they're usually bought frozen or even raw from your local supplier. So that might even be a butcher's potentially. You can pick up bones in a butcher's if they've got a dual license. So raw bones are digestible and cooked bones are not. So the difference between raw bones and cooked bones is that your dog can digest them when it's a raw bone. When it's not, it's harder for them to digest it. Doesn't mean it won't pass through, but it's not as good for them. All right. When you snap a cooked bone, it is sharp. It will splinter because the air inside the bone is stretched with the heat, and then it becomes brittle. That could cause an injury in the mouth potentially, or even inside their intestinal system. So, and also by cooking it, it takes away some of the nutrients that your dogs wouldn't need. It won't get rid of them all, but it takes away some of the nutrients. So that's why raw bones are better. But if you have got a cooked bone at home, say you had a Sunday roast and you've got some a lamb bone left over, you could always try using it to make some bone broth. So it won't go to waste. You can use it again. Right, so and the other thing I wanted to say with the cooked bones that I showed you there, when you go to a pet shop, if you see them, try and avoid these smoked bones, the big ham bones in the plastic pack. They've been cooked, so you need to avoid those because they're not raw. For me, if it can be kept out of a freezer or out of a chilled environment, then why is it safe if it's raw? It's not going to be raw. So avoid those. And sometimes they're loose, sometimes they're in a packet marketed as a ham bone. Sometimes they're white and they're bleached, and they actually do bleach them, and they fill them sometimes with something that's probably cereal based. Your dog will like it, but that bone is really brittle and it can damage their teeth. So try and avoid those, but you could use a raw marrow bone instead and refill it with raw food. So there's all good things you can do with a marrow bone, but just don't choose the cooked ones if you can possibly help it. Which bones are best for puppies or adult dogs? So puppies versus adults, which bones do they have? So puppies can have bones. Some people say you shouldn't give them bones. They can have bones because if you think about it, a nice meaty chicken neck for a tiny little Chihuahua puppy, when it's cold and even semi-frozen, is really soothing on their gums. They'll eat the meat off of it. They might even leave the bone, but they will enjoy that. And as long as they're supervised, they will be fine. Puppies are always looking for ways to relieve their gums because of their teething, like babies do. They are babies. And if you want to just give them a bone that they're just going to chew to help that, then choose something bigger. So depending on the size of your puppy, you could choose a marrow bone potentially, because there's a bit of meat on there. These are medium marrow bones. There's 2 in a pack. There's one of them. And then you've got the smaller ones here. They've all got the marrow inside and meat on the outside. There's 2 in there. Okay, so a puppy could have this. You could take it away after half an hour, put it back in the freezer and give it back to them later. Or you could even choose something nice and soft like a chicken carcass. One of these. This is one of our fresh ones we've done today. Chicken carcass, really flexible bone, full of cartilage, not much bone in there, but covered in meat. So the puppy can enjoy that by ripping that off. And then for puppies, you can choose a chicken carcass, duck necks, you can choose chicken necks, all that little riblets like we had before. That would be quite nice and small for a puppy, but then depends on the size of the puppy. If you've got a mastiff puppy, a packet of the riblets is going to go in no time. You want something bigger, so you need to be appropriately feeding them for the size of the dog. Adult dogs, most bones will be fine, so you can feed adult dogs most bones. Again, they've got to be raw. Look at the size of the bone versus the size of the dog and their head, and can they swallow it in one go? Then feed the correct one that fits your pet. So bones to consider, you could choose things like marrow bones, the bigger lamb ribs, turkey and lamb necks. They're nice and big and meaty. This is a lamb neck here. You can see how much meat is on one of those. That's a great meal bone for your dog. So all your bones you should choose are like this, meaty and raw. Okay. You could even consider a whole rabbit if you felt comfortable with that. Some people will feed those rabbits whole animals as well. So only if you're comfortable feeding that as well. So, and cats are another thing that can eat raw bones. So not all cats can be bothered. As I know at home, Fudge is not fussed on eating a chicken carcass unless I cut all the meat off for him. But cats can eat chicks. So the day-old chicks that you get that some people feed to the falcons and to the snakes, cats can have those. Dogs can have them as part of their meal as well. I have got some here. These are the chicks. We sell them in packs of 5. The cat will have one of those every other day or so. And that's a whole meal. It's got the whole bird there. And he eats all of it apart from the feet. He leaves those. But cats can have chicks, they can have chicken wings, they could have duck wings, chicken and duck necks as well. And some will even tackle a lamb of ribs if it's nice and meaty like that. I have seen it. We had a customer send in a video and her cat was eating a lamb rib and he'd stolen it off of the dogs. So if the cat will eat it, they'll probably just eat the meat off it. They won't eat the bone, but it's good for them. It's enriching for them as well. What are the benefits of feeding bones to my dogs? Well, the benefits are seen mostly on their teeth. So they actually help to remove the tartar buildup on the teeth. So if you've got mucky teeth for your dog, one of the things before, if they were going to the vets for a dental, you could try giving them a raw bone, like a marrow bone or a recreational bone, even maybe something if they're raw fed. You could switch up their meals, move away from the minces and feed a nice meaty lamb neck. This is quite rigid. There's quite a lot of bumpy bones on there, and that's going to help to clean the teeth and massage the gums. So clean white teeth, that's what you can expect one of the benefits would be. Another thing that you might see is that your dog is chilled. They chill out when they're eating a raw bone. Gnawing and chewing on a bone will help them to chill out. It releases endorphins and it helps them to feel calm and happy. It helps their brain, okay? They have to think about how they've got to eat this bone. If it's a bone they've never had before, they've got to work it out. So quite often when they first have a bone, they don't know what to do with it. So they've got to work out how to eat that bone. That's really, really good for their brains. Okay, and that's exercise for their brains, and there'll be a workout for their body as well, because they'll be holding that bone in their paws, they'll be chewing at it with their teeth, they'll be exercising their jaws, their neck muscles, and even their whole body as they hold onto it and rip and tear and pull on that meat and eat the bone with their teeth. So yeah, that's what their teeth are designed for. You know, they are perfectly well equipped to rip and tear up meat with these pointy canines. And these incisors, feeding a meaty bone, you're going to see the flesh on those incisors pulling through, and then that helps to floss them. So it acts like a bit of a dental floss for them as well. These guys back here, these are the big, strong powerhouse jaws. And dogs' jaws don't work the same as ours. They can only go up and down. Ours go side to side. We can move our jaw like this. Dogs can only do this. And that's where these come in. This is where they crush and chomp and break down those bones that you've given them so they can then swallow them and digest them. And their stomach is massively capable of digesting a raw bone because their acid is really, really strong and it turns it into like a jelly substance, and then they can digest it. So that's that. No, that's so those benefits, loads of benefits. Can bones help to keep your dog's teeth clean? So can bones help to keep your dog's teeth clean? Yes, they can. Absolutely, 100%. So as I mentioned before, these teeth on your dog are perfectly equipped for eating meat and for eating raw bones. Okay, they will clean the teeth by scraping and brushing the teeth with the bones. So these teeth here, you'll notice a difference because they'll gnaw on the side with these, and the meat and the bone will help to scrape this off, any plaque and tartar that you find on there. And then these are the pointy tearing canines that rip the flesh and catch their prey. But that will help to actually pull up the food. And then, like I said, these little tiny incisors at the front, these will be the ones where they floss the teeth and they get to pull off the meat with those. So their teeth get a good cleaning when they eat a nice raw meaty bone. There are risks when you consider feeding a bone to your dog. You just need to be aware. Be with your pet. Be aware of what can happen. Plenty of people feed their dogs bones from us and they're absolutely fine. It's because they're aware of it. They know what to look out for and they know what's appropriate for their pet. Bones can splinter if they're cooked. Sometimes the really hard bones might snap and be quite pointy, so you need to look out for that. But generally, they'll be absolutely fine. You won't get a dog, unless it's a massive dog with a really strong jaw that can crack one of these before you've noticed they're trying. So by staying with your dog, you notice if something like that's happening and you might remove it. And if you're going to remove a bone away from your dog, try and distract them with something else so they don't get they start resource guarding and they don't get unhappy with you. Okay, so yes, so if you're at all worried that your dog has eaten a piece of bone, you must consult your veterinary professional that you rely on and you trust, because they'll be able to help you. They can monitor the dog, they could do an x-ray to see if there's something stuck anywhere that you're worried about. So you can talk to your vet, and a cooked bone is not likely to pass through as easily as a raw bone. So make sure if you think your dog's eaten a big cooked bone that you consult your vet. Okay, so there's another question here. How long should I let my dog chew on a bone? So I just touched on it there. If you take a bone away, make sure you do it correctly. So it depends on the bone. So how long you should let your dog have it, it depends on the bone. Are you planning on that bone being a meal for your dog? So something like this, or a chicken carcass is a meal bone because they're meaty and they've got the bone in there. That's going to be consumed by your dog, and you let them have it for however long they need it for, however long they want to eat it for. If they leave it, walk away from it, you can put a bit of it back in the freezer. That will be consumed by your dog, so there won't be much left over from that. Marrow bones, on the other hand, are a recreational type bone and they won't eat all of it. So you can take those away. And generally people tend to give them for about half an hour and then put it away and then put it away for another day. And you can do that 2 or 3 times before you need to bin the bone. So this is our nice medium marrow bone. Dog can chew on that. They're going to eat the meat off it. They're going to eat the marrow from out inside it. And then you can put that bone back in the freezer after about half an hour. But make sure, if you are taking it away, that you do it in a nice way. You're not just going to snatch it away from the dog. You're going to just maybe offer a different reward, distract the dog, take it away from the bone, and then you can go and pick it up safely and put it away. These are great for restuffing as well. So if you use the marrow bones, they'll eat the meat off of it. That's fine. They're going to eat the marrow out of it, and then you can take the chicken mince or any of the minces that you do, you can restuff it. So that's how long you can let your dog chew on a bone. And another question was, can you let your dog eat bones even if they're not raw fed? And you can. You just need to be, again, you could be the harder bones like this that they're not going to completely consume, so it won't be so hard for them to digest it, or nice flexible smaller bones like the chicken carcasses or the chicken necks. Alternatives. So what alternatives are there to feeding a raw bone to my dog? So you can choose natural treats. There's plenty of treats out there that are going to help to clean their teeth, and I've got a few examples here with me. So these are great. The pig snouts they're quite big, they're spongy. You can give them whole or you can cut them up for a smaller dog, but this is one of the pig snouts. Literally, it is a pig snout. That's what it looks like from that side. They're not bleached, they're just processed. They are cooked, but they've not got bone in them. They're cartilage, so they should be fine. They're not fried either, contrary to some people think they're fried. They're not, they're just puffed up. And the reason they're white, there's no blood running through them anymore. Flesh is quite white. When you think about it, chicken skin is white. There's no blood running through it anymore, so that's why they're white. So that's quite good because they're quite spongy and the teeth go in and out, and they help to clean the teeth. And the other things I've got here, some tripe sticks. You've got pig ears, a cow hoof, toys. You can use toys to help clean their teeth as well. So this is one of the cow hooves. It's just basically it's keratin, it's hair. They are quite hard, and if your dog is going to leave this bit here, throw that away because they might try and swallow that in one go, but you can stuff these. So they're cow hooves. They're really inexpensive. We do packs of 3. They're a great treat. They do smell. It's a cow hoof. These also smell. We call them stinky sticks. These are tripe sticks, okay? But they're great because they've got the ridges on them. So that could be a great alternative to feeding a bone. That will help to clean their teeth because of the ridges. They're quite hard. They have to work at them. Pig ears. Oh, pig noses are taking a dive. Pig ears, nice and big. Some of these are lovely. A bit fattier, so bear in mind how much fat content you're feeding your dog. But pig ears are a good chew, and that's another way they can crunch through those, and that's going to scrape the gums and the teeth. Yak chews. They're also a great hard chew. They're really hard. They have to work to get through them. They're quite ridgy, so they'll help to clean the teeth. Something like that you could think about as a teeth cleaning option. That is one of the large ones. But we have medium and small, and they're sometimes extra large as well, depending on the supplier's availability. But they're quite a good size. And dogs seem to really enjoy them. That we sell loads of these. People do like them. Or the other option is have your treats and put them into a treat ball like this. And this got little tiny teeth on it, so you can stuff the treats in the ball, and then your dog has to work at getting that out. And these little rubber teeth on here will help to clean the dog's teeth as well. And it's quite textured. And that is marketed by Kong as a dental ball anyway, and the dog can chew and they'll enjoy it. If you put the treats in, it makes it more interesting for them, but you want to make sure they don't consume fully any of that. So then the next question about bones is, how often should I feed bones to my dog? So what is the frequency of feeding a bone to my dog? Some people choose to add a meaty bone like the chicken carcasses daily for their meals, balancing it out. So some people will feed one of these daily with some of the mince. Some people will choose to feed like a bigger bone like this, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, like a lamb rib in that time period. So it really does depend on your home experience and your circumstances and what your dogs need. An older dog might not be able to eat the bigger bones anymore because they're not as strong and their jaws and their teeth are worn away potentially a little bit, but you just need to apply the right bone to the dog and the situation that you're in. Yes, so how often you can feed a bone is really down to you and the frequency you need. If you feed a really meaty bone like this, think about balancing it out against a bone-free meal on the next day. So that way you give your dog a balance over time. Another way you can remember is to keep a diary. Sometimes you forget what you fed them. Keep a diary, and another way to check is to check their poo. So it's a really good measure of what their poo looks like. If they've had a bonier meal, you will notice it in their poo. And how should I store leftover bones? You must keep them cold, okay? Ideally in the freezer until you're ready to use them again. Or if you're not happy, don't use them again, put them in the bin or the compost bin. think people put them in the household compost bins because they can put bones in there. Do bones provide any nutritional value? Well, yes, they do. Bones provide, above other things, calcium for your dog and cat. And last week we discussed how calcium is one of the essential minerals that your dogs need. So bones are good to give your dogs extra calcium. There's loads of other reasons and loads of other things that are in bones. But yes, nutritional value, they are good. They will give your pet something. And are marrow bones good for dogs? Yes, they are. Marrow bones are good for dogs as long as you know what you're doing. As long as you know what you're feeding your dog when you give them a marrow bone, there won't be a problem at all. If you supervise them and you give them once or twice a week and that's about it, then you should be absolutely fine. And when you buy a marrow bone, you need to make sure it's nice and meaty and it's still got the marrow in it and it's not been cooked and it's not stuffed full of biscuity type material. Bearing in mind, the reason I'm saying that you need to be aware of what you're feeding is that this is a cow's leg, okay? A marrow bone typically is a bone from a leg of an animal. It's full of the bone marrow. But this, if you consider how heavy a cow is and what the weight the cow has to carry around on them, these are really, really strong, dense bones. So that's why you say you need to be supervised and they need to be fed occasionally, not all the time. They're fatty as well, but look at these ones. They're so meaty, your dog will get a lot from that without even actually gnawing on the bone part to start off with. And there's like a covering on here. You've got fat, you've got meat, so there's lots on there. But this is a weight-bearing bone of a large animal. So you need to bear that in mind when you're feeding marrow bones to your dogs. You can feed them safely as long as you know what you're doing and know what it is that you're feeding. So hopefully that helps sort of raise that awareness a little bit. They're really heavy. Make sure your dog is always supervised when you're feeding any sort of bone. Okay, and if you notice your dog's really bearing down on that marrow bone, rasping their teeth really hard, try and distract them with another reward and take the bone away because they're just going to end up potentially hurting their jaw or damaging their teeth, and you don't want them to do that because they need their teeth for eating. Which leads on to dental implications. Can bones break my dog's teeth? But yes, they can. But you need to be sensible. Like I said, weight-bearing bones. We've got weight-bearing bones from a cow there. You can see the size of that. This is a venison leg bone. Quite a bit smaller. So if you've got a smaller dog and you want to give them a marrow bone, you can look at one of these, like the venison bones. Still lots of meat on there. Dogs love these. Meat on there, they'll break into that and eat that. Some people will find their dogs will eat the lot and some dogs will leave part of it. And if they leave it, you can throw it away. And the other fun thing is this one here. So that joins onto there, basically, somewhere along the line. Not very good. In fact, this is probably back legs, actually. But this is a little foot of a deer. Hairy is good. You can feed a hairy leg. And this is raw. Sometimes you can get these dried. I'm always a bit suspicious of those because I don't know how they've been treated. If they've come frozen, you know they're raw and they can eat all the meat on there and the marrow won't be solid. Sometimes the dogs will leave their little toes, the little cloven hooves. They don't always eat those. Some of them do, and they just pass through and they can deal with them. Some people would choose to remove it when the dog gets down to here. So it's got to be right for you and at home, okay? And don't feed cooked bones. That was the dental part side of things. That concludes the bone Q&A that I had. So let's just recap, okay? Just a recap on raw bones. Never ever feed cooked bones to your dog. You should always feed bones under supervision. Feed appropriate size bones for the dog that you've got. Look at their head size. Can they swallow it in one go? If it's a no, then they can chew it and then they'll enjoy it and they won't swallow it in one go. Be aware of weight-bearing bones, like the marrow bones. Be aware of what they're for. They're to carry a cow, so they're going to be hard, but you can feed them safely if they're supervised and you know what you're doing. Hygiene. Something I didn't mention, hygiene. You can feed bones outside, you can feed bones inside. But just bear in mind, little bits might fall off. So some people like to feed a bone either in a crate or on a towel, and then you can put the towel straight in the wash, and then it's nice and clean for next time. And think about how often you're going to feed a bone. do overbalance. 2 to 3 times a week is fine. Balance it out and bear in mind what else your dog has eaten, okay? Balance it out, take a look at their poo and see how they're getting on with what they're eating. So that's it from me today. I'm Nurturing by Nature's Emma. Nettie started Nurturing by Nature. We're based down in Dorset in the UK. We do our best to help educate you as well as provide you with a nice, safe, raw diet. That was my chicken wings taking a dive into the sink. But yeah, that's it. Would you like to win the products that we have featured today? I'm going to re-upload this video into YouTube, slightly edited. If you comment on there in the next week, you could win a nice selection of what we featured in today's video. So do get involved in that. And Lisa Jordan was our winner last week, or this week. She was selected, randomly generated from the system, and she was our winner for last week's video. So well done, Lisa. We are open this weekend as usual. Nurturing by Nature, we have 4 stores in the UK down in Dorset. We've got 1 in our factory unit at Upton. We've got 1 at Westmoors. We've got also 2 that are open 7 days a week. So the Pamp Hill store, which is located Wimborne, that's open 7 days a week. And so is our Christchurch store on Barrack Road, which is really accessible from Bournemouth. Have a lovely weekend, and thank you ever so much for joining me. I'll see you again soon. Thank you.